Okay, this is Black Re-Education TV, where we're stepping back from the brink towards a more meaningful future, with our theme verse being, Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. So if your ancestors were scattered via the transatlantic slave trade or the Mohammedan Arabic Islamic slave trade, then you are the children of Almighty Sunini Nanini Samandla, the mighty one of Abraham, Isaka, and Jacob. Oh yes, Black history, the study of the Bible is Black history. And so you're welcome tonight. Welcome to the show. Welcome. Share the link to everyone. And let somebody know tonight that you are connected to the show. We give him all the praise. We give him all the glory. We give him all the honor because he is due all the praise and all the honor. Oh yes, share the link and text a friend. And after the show, make sure you follow us on all the channels. It is on Telegram Live, it is YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and the recording is uploaded on Bantu. You are welcome tonight to the show. All praises to Almighty Sunini Nanini Samanda. We give him all the praise and all the glory.
Waking up the Bantus from sea to sea. Black Re-Education TV. Waking up the Bantus from sea to sea. Black Re-Education TV.
This song is a processional that involves our personal and collective act of spiritual worship, meaning the part we play. Labour and rest are the two pillars upon which worship is established. This song's primary focus is to encourage Abantu to labour in worship in order to enter into Sunini's presence or rest. Labour speaks of movement, our movement towards a culmination that brings us to engagement with Sunini Nanini. By the time we have entered into Sunini's holy presence, it means that our movement, our labour, has reached its conclusion. Meaning, as we stand before Sunini Nanini, we lose all awareness of self, where our five senses have entered into a state of suspension. Disengagement from our immediate surroundings will allow us to engage with Sunini Nanini. Giving praise to Sunini Nanini is to give thanks for everything that he has done and that he is doing. Our own personal relationship with Sunini Nanini should mean that we have a lot to tell. Praise means I will tell another of your name. As we approach Sunini's holy presence, we will begin to see ourselves more clearly. And this is when we say what Isaiah said when he saw Samandla sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. He said, "Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For mine eyes have seen the King, Samandla of hosts." Abantu, in this processional, let us enter into his gates with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. Be thankful unto unto him, and Ibukan is name. For Sonini Nanini is good, his mercy is everlasting, and his truth endureth to all generations. All hail Sonini Nanini, his kingdom rules over all, the royal seed of Abraham. Establish your throne of truth in our land. Establish your throne of truth in our land. Abantu, in this processional, let us enter into his gates with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. Be thankful unto him, and Ibukan is name. For Sonini Nanini is good, his mercy is everlasting, and his truth endureth to all generations. Almighty Sonini Nanini, wonderful Counselor and friend, on bended knees we seek your face. Show us your mercy and your grace. Show us your mercy and your grace. And when the trumpeters and singers were joined in unison, making one sound to be heard in praising and thanking Somandla, and when they lifted up their voice with trumpets and cymbals and other instruments for song, and praised Somandla, saying, for he is good, for his mercy and loving kindness endure forever. Then the house of Somandla was filled with a cloud, so that the priest could not stand to minister because of the cloud. For the glory of Somandla filled the house of Sonini Nanini. As we embark on this second exodus from Babylon to Africa, the Holy Land, we are reminded of the instructions Sonini Nanini gave to Joshua. He said, be strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law which Moses my servant commanded thee. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. These instructions are from our Heavenly Father, Sonini Nanini, to Abantu. My child, pay attention to my words. Listen closely to what I say. My child, pay attention to my words. Listen closely to what I say. Don't ever forget my words. Keep them always in mind. They are the key to life for those who find them. They bring health to the whole body. Be careful what you think, because your thoughts run your life. Don't use your mouth to tell lies. Don't ever say things that are not true. Don't use your mouth to tell lies. Don't ever say things that are not true. Keep your eyes focused on what is right and look straight ahead to what is good. Be careful what you do. And always do what is right. Don't turn off the road of goodness. Keep away from evil paths. Don't turn off the road of goodness. Keep away from evil paths. My child, pay attention to my words. My child, pay attention to my words.
back from the brink towards a more meaningful future. arise and go. I will 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 arise and go. Go, 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 go.
Come on, Abantu, let us stand to our feet, turn towards the south, where the true Jerusalem Ikayalami is located in the Kingdom of Judah, Africa, the Holy Land. Let us speak with one voice and sing.
Arise, Jerusalem, let your light shine for all nations to see. Arise, Jerusalem, for soon His glory is shining on you. For soon His glory is shining on you. Arise, Jerusalem, let your light shine for all nations to see. Arise, Jerusalem, for soon His glory is shining on you. For soon His glory is shining on you. Darkness is black as night, will cover all nations of the earth, and soon His glory will shine over you. Mighty kings will come to see your radiance. Arise, Jerusalem, let your light shine for all nations to see. Arise, Jerusalem, for soon His glory is shining on you. For soon His glory is shining on you. Arise, Jerusalem, let your light shine for all nations to see. Arise, Jerusalem, for soon His glory is shining on you. 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 For soon His glory is shining on you.
Come on, Abantu, let us stand.
For breaking down every obstacle in the path to the redemption of His people. And we join the prophets that said, therefore the redeemed of Sunini Nanini shall return and come with singing unto Zion. That's what they said in the Bible. But we know it's Jerusalem. It's this.
In paradise, 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 in paradise. Ingefuna ukuya Jerusalem, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. Ingefuna ukuya Jerusalem, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. Yeah, I wanna go to paradise, where the roads gold and the weather's nice, where the Salem ain't on fight, no moon or sun, cause you be the light, the way truth and light. So many nanini, Tata is on me, mighty one over Kobe. Out New Egypt, you gon' lead us, you the one to redeem us. You love us but don't need us, false doctrine, you gon' free us. Yeah, I can hear the shaking of the bones, all cause the one on the throne, a Kobe, yeah, we go home. So then please take us home. Eat paradise, eat paradise, yeah. Eat paradise, eat paradise, eat paradise, eat paradise, eat paradise, eat paradise. Ingefuna ukuya Jerusalem, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. Ingefuna ukuya Jerusalem, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. Yeah.
Okay. Greetings tonight once more in the precious name of our Father Almighty, Sunini Nanini Samandla. He is the mighty one of Abraham, the mighty one of Issachar, and the mighty one of Kobe. Welcome to the show tonight, everyone. We give thanks and praise to Almighty Sunini Nanini Samandla, the mighty one of Abraham, the mighty one of Issachar, and the mighty one of Kobe. We thank him for his goodness to Abantu. And so tonight, if you're joining us from the Pacific Islands, Australia, New Zealand, or from the troubled Arab, Asian, and European lands, welcome tonight. And if you're joining us from the Caribbean islands, North and South America, or even Antarctica, you are also welcome tonight. But if you're joining us from the most precious real estate on earth, the Holy Land, Al-Kebulan, Azania, the Promised Land, the land of Canaan, the land of Sarah and Abraham, Sub Saharan Africa, Sarah and Haran, welcome tonight. Welcome to the new series, Africa is the Holy Land. Africa is the Holy Land. The drive to label Abantu as Israelites. The drive to label Abantu as Israelites. And continue on. Who are the Jews? Who are the Jews? Part 2. Who are the Jews? Part 2. And so tonight we continue on in this series where we begin to examine who are the Jews or the Hebrews or the Israelites, the same one and the same. And as we continue in this conversation, it is our intention that your minds and understandings will become much more enlightened, and so that you don't follow the confusion, because some are labeling us by because of lack of knowledge, while there are others that are deliberately trying to label us as another people. We are not the children of Israel. We are not the Hebrews, and we are not the Jews. So let's study this tonight. Let's continue on in our study in part 2. Last night we spoke extensively some more about the origin of the Hebrews or the Jews, or as we say here for tonight, part 2, who are the Jews. And we noted that they came from the area known today. They originated in Europe. Yes, they originated in Europe, in the area known as the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, better known as the Caucasus Mountain. And as they began to establish themselves on the Russian steppes, the kingdom of Khazaria, they were then known as the kingdom of the Khazars. There's so many other names, but we're not going to go into some of those tonight, but we're just saying this is the kingdom of Khazaria. And the kingdom of Khazaria went through a metamorphosis, and they shed their original identity from the Khazars, and they took on new identity over time, several different identity, like an onion being unpeeled. When they could no longer stay in the location where they control the trade routes, whether you're going farther east or north or south or west, wherever you're going, they were smack in the middle there, collecting the revenue. And at one point in history, they had so much fighting men that they used to lease or rent their armies for combat purposes. This is the people that, following their last bit of metamorphosis, they became the children of Israel. And we are going to look at those changes, how they arrived into that space. But I'm conscious that tonight the world is celebrating the Gentile New Year. I say the Gentile New Year because this whole system now was set up by the Gentiles, those children of Genesis chapter 10, the Euro-Asia, Euro-Arab nations. And so they will celebrate on the 31st of December tonight. They're going to enter into a new year. But the point I want to make is that you must notice that the Jews will not celebrate like the other Europeans because they sought to distance themselves from their cousins. They're all children of one brother. I should say children of one father. But they seek to distance themselves from the other Europeans. And so they went down in September last year. They went down September last year to celebrate their new year in the vicinity, in time where the Bantu celebrate their new year. You need to pay attention to that. There is a reason. They went down in September to celebrate Rosh Hashanah. And in their celebration of Rosh Hashanah, they seek to distance themselves from the Gregorian calendar set up by the Pope of Rome, on which all time was changed to bring it into this period. But it's significant that they went down to the period September, not on the right day, but September, to celebrate their new year, because they know something. They know the people that they are tracking, they are following. Last night I showed you how the word Salem was changed by the Hebrews, the Israelites, the Jews, to become, Salem was changed to become Shalom. They inserted in the word Salem the H, SH, and they changed the E for an O, and they get Shalom. The intention is just to say things differently, but not to change the meaning, because Salem has always been peace. You hear the Arabs do a little sound like that. As-salam. Salem became Shalom, but still meant peace. And in such, they're tracking Abantu. And you'll see how much more they're tracking Abantu into the place where, like I said, they copied and created their language from the ancient Aramaic, which is Paleo-Bantu. But they sought to back theirs so far in time that you don't get to figure them out. But we give thanks and praise to Almighty Sunini Nanini Samana. And so tonight, as we go into Who Are the Jews, Part 2, it is important that you pay careful attention to this metamorphosis of deception, this metamorphosis of deception that took place. Hallelujah. We give thanks and praise tonight that our eyes are becoming open more and more. The drive to label Abantu as Israelites. Abantu versus the Israelites. Who are the Jews? Hallelujah. Last night I made reference to some Jewish scholars that decided that they were not going to participate in the fabrication of history to the point where they decided to state very clearly, like Solomon Sands, he says, the invention of the Jewish people. And in the invention of anything, it's the creation of something that wasn't there before. The invention of the Jewish people. And then Ilan Pape says the 10 myths about Israel. And in this book, of which I have a copy of, he outlines the thought process where a group of people is seeking, mythically seeking, to connect themselves with a people they found and read about in the Bantu scrolls, which became the Holy Bible. And then there is another document out there which most will like to distance themselves from, the Protocol of the Learned Elders of Zion. So we had the word now, Zion. Then the founding myths of Israel. This is another document out there. But one of the most popular ones out there was the one by Arthur Koestler, the 13th tribe. And he posits that if the Jews were part of the historical peoples of the Bible, then they would have been a 13th tribe, not just 12, because they're completely different from the others. In other words, you get to see the story of the Jesus theory. You got 6 disciples on one side and another 6 on the next side, and then Jesus becomes the 13th person in the middle, the 13th tribe. And so this whole concoction was set up by this group of people known as the Khazars, who occupied, like I said earlier, the Russian steppes. And when they could no longer occupy the space between the Black Sea and Caspian Seas or the Caucasus Mountain, because they were driven out from there by the Russians. And so what you see happening in Ukraine today is an age-old battle between these children of Genesis chapter 10. The children of Cain, Kenaz, the Kenites after the flood. You see, they migrated into other parts of Europe, not before they converted in mass to a religion, the third religion of the Vatican, Judaism. Sometimes pronounced Judaism. And so you have Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. This is the creation of Rome, in part of their control of the narrative concerning peoples and their origin. And so they spread from the Russian steppes, and some seek to distance themselves from the origin in the Russian steppes, because if you originated in the Caspian and Black Seas area, there's no way that you picking up the Bantu scrolls and reading it and inserting yourself inside will make you the people. So they sought to create a mystery about the origin. And so the two main groups of Judaism, Ashkenazis and the Sephardims, they say they came from more Germany, central France area. It could be because, you know, we have the Basque, which I teach on before in that location, and Columbus was a Basque. And because they remove themselves from the original locations, they also distance themselves from their ancestral lineage. But originally, like everyone in that space, they're either Euro-Asian or Euro-Arab. But they came into living in places like Eastern Europe, primarily Ukraine, Poland, Belarus, Lithuania, Hungary, and Germany. And then the others, the Sephardim, they will find themselves in places like England. And if you examine the political class in England, you will see them there. Of course, not with the names that you could identify them with easily. But we know them. And so it is the Khazars that metamorphosized and became the Israelites or the Hebrews or the Jews that you will read about in the Bible. After they took hold of the Bantu scrolls and they changed it to insert themselves into this history. We had the conversation about the Kenites. I'm not going there. We did that. And here, reading from part of the Encyclopedia Britannica, it says, although basically Turkic, speaking of the Khazars, the Khazar state bore little resemblance to the other Turkic empires of Central Eurasia. Though they were Turkic people, you see, this is one family. Genesis chapter 10 family is one people. Gomer, Magog, Medan, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, Tiras, these 7 children is one family. And so, though the genetic appearance might not testify easily to it, what it testifies mainly to, that they are a Euro-Asian, Euro-Arab people. So that's what it's saying here. The Khazar state bore little resemblance to the other Turkic empires of Central Eurasia. It was headed by a Seleucid supreme, or they had a supreme ruler, or like an emperor, and he was semi-religious, kind of secular religious state. And he was called the Kagan, or the Kagan. He was the king, or the emperor. And he wielded the power of the time. And he controlled the tribal chiefs back in the days. This is a European conversation. The state's military organization also seemed to have lacked the forcefulness of those of the greater Turkic Mongol empires. So they were not as powerful as the other Turkic empires or the Mongols, the Chinese kind of looking empires. The Khazars seem to have been more included in a sedimentary way of life, building towns and fortresses and tilling the soil and planting gardens and vineyards, trade and collection of tributes or taxes were a major source of income for them. And so in the 9th and 10th century area, they adopted a religion because other European powers had their religion that they relied on. Like I explained, each king had his priests. His king had his priests. It's kind of something that they saw happening in the Bantu scrolls. You see, Samuel was the priest. Saul was the king, Samuel is the priest. And you can't rule without the sanctioning of the priest, because the priest connects you with the God. He's the mouthpiece of the God. And so if he don't sanction you, you can't rule. And we saw this happening with Samuel and Saul. And then the empire was taken away from Saul and given to David, all of the sanctioning of the priests. So they all had to have to rule a priest in their midst. And today, you know that the Russians, they have the priests. They have the Orthodox Church on the other side. And so Putin will have his priests. And on this side, the Queen of England, the King of England, he will have his priests, the Anglican Church, right? The Archbishop there. And so the other parts of Europe, the Pope, he is the priest, the Bishop of Rome. And so this is how they set themselves up, all right? But the key part here is that whether they're in the West or they're in the East, they are the Jews. They are of the family, the Khazars. And their main religion was the one given to them by the Romans, which is what we know to be as Jewism. But whatever they seek to distance themselves, exactly like I said just now, they will not celebrate New Year's like the other Christians will do. They have celebrated like how the Bantu celebrated, which is something to take note of. All right, let's go in. Now, I'm going to use this diagram to explain a couple of things tonight before we go into some reading of the scriptures concerning the real people. So the kingdom of Khazaria, which originated in Europe, a European kingdom, transformed itself into the Israelite or the Israeli or the Hebrew or the Jew. You get the picture. That's what he did. So because he couldn't go back to that space, and he's now in Germany, he's in Poland, he's in Hungary, and so on, he needed settling. And because he isolated himself and felt unique because of the privilege that he had with monies and so on, they decided they're going to create a new identity, a new state in a new location. And we're going to read the document today, the Balfour Declaration. But you need to put it in perspective. See, the Jewish Zion, you see the word Zion. When you see the word Zion in the Bible, it's because the Zionist was handling the Bible. So you'd read Zion, and they'll try to equate the holy city, Jerusalem, up south with Zion, their capital, which is the fake Jerusalem. All right. So the Jewish people, the Zionist version of them. Now, not every Jewish person is a Zionist. You need to understand that too. Every Ashkenazi is not a Sephardim, and every Sephardim is not an Ashkenazi. And every Jew is not a Sephardim, and every Jew is not an Ashkenazi. So they got these different branches, but they all adhere to one principle. They will support each other regardless of what happens, regardless the price. And that is interesting to note. And you just saw that happening in this recent continuation that is happening undercover now, the genocide in Gaza, as everybody saw on the television. And then you see the support for the state. That support is coming up as a result of the positions occupied in Europe and in America and other places by this group who have metamorphosized over the years. They've changed over the years, their identity. And so they're now with normal names, like how the British inserted names like I carry on me. So they have normal names like that in the different parts of Europe. Whether in France, they're your presidents in France. Whether in Britain, they're your prime ministers in Britain. Whether in Germany, there's your chancellor in Germany. Whether in America, they're your president on the both sides. If they're in England, they are your Democrat and your your Labour and your Conservative. They rule the system like that. So it is difficult for them not to acquire the support that they need. But I'm taking you into a space where you get to understand it is this Khazarian kingdom, the Khazars, that changed. This is a European DNA carrying people that became, strangely, a people of the Bible. And I often refer to this in a manner that makes it a little simple to understand. I wrote my son a letter, or my daughter a letter, and you intercepted that letter by mistake, and then you removed my daughter's name and you inserted your name inside. That don't make you the recipient of that letter. The contents of that letter is not addressed to you, even though you inserted your name where you see I'm addressing my daughter or my son. And that's what they did with the Bantu schools, but we're coming there. We're coming there. So the Jewish Zionists needed a new location to set up camp because they can't go back to Russia. And they are in the midst of the Ukraine, Hungary, Germany, in a mix up with other Europeans. And so they sought to isolate themselves from those groups and try to create like a unique identity, separate and apart from the other European nations. But when you go to Genesis chapter 10, like I said, you see all them 7 children are children of one father. Not Japheth, we'll discuss that another time. But they, 7, are children of one father. But the eldest child there was Gomer. And so Gomer's eldest son, Ashkenaz, he takes over after Gomer. So if you look around for the children of Gomer today, you might not find them, but you must find the children of Ashkenaz. Because he kept a unique identity. And then he sought now to impose that identity in the world, in the earth. And though I have it in the reverse, I put the current year, 1948 to 2024, first, and then I have the second part, which is the earlier part, where they were the Sanhedrin in the New Testament and the children of Israel of the Old Testament. Those are how they wanted to be identified. And so these 2 unique groups, one in the New Testament and one in the Old Testament, we'll have to explain so you can understand. But they found their footings in different places. For the Zionists, the Jewish Zionists, he found his land via the Balfour Declaration, which is a European document which gave lands that belong to the Arabs for ages to this group of Khazarians in 1948. Well, they were setting it up since the 1917 or something. They were setting this thing up before. So I put the last piece, the first piece last, because I want to explain something to you. They knew where they were going to arrive or where they're going to finish off in 1948 to 2024. But the means to get to 1940 to 2024 started off in the Old Testament, or the plagiarization of the Old Testament and the creation of the New Testament by Josephus. So they knew that they had to take a story that was well established among Abantu, remove Abantu completely from that story. Like I said, took the name of my child out of the letter, inserted their names in that letter, and then began to behave as my children. Let it supposed to be a will, for example, and the children were listed in that will. They removed those children and put themselves in the will. So when you're reading the will, you're reading about them and not my children. I hope you understand that simple analogy. And this is where the confusion is. They didn't use my child's name. They changed my child's name and then say that that document is about them. Now, that's the Old Testament. And in the New Testament, they sought to cement it a little more. So they build on the Old Testament, create the New Testament to declare themselves as the children of this God, these children of this God of Israel, that give them this particular land that they're going to now take up, which they got via the Balfour Declaration. So now, if you look in the Bible, you will not find any declaration, any prophecy about a declaration by some Balfour. No document of such nature prophesied to give these children land. You see, the story of the Bible, when these children left their land, they were going to go back to the land of the ancestral lands. But remember the Khazars, this where they're claiming now in 1948 is not the ancestral lands. The ancestral lands in the Caspian and the Black Sea, and later became parts of Eastern Europe, Ukraine, Belarus, Lithuania, Hungary, Germany. So they bypass all of those successions and come in 1948 to 2024 into a land that they did not originate it from, and use the Bible. But the problem in using the Bible, they know how to move the people of the Bible from their biblical location or obscure them, hide them, so they cannot be known. They were never supposed to be known, so that they can take on the identity of the people of the Bantu scrolls and obscure those people to the point where nobody knows them. That's why you and I, Black people, have never been found in the Bible. You and I were written out. Our names were removed from the book. And it's good it's not the book of life, because our names are written in the book of life. So they're removed. So this preparation started a long time before it got to the Balfour Declaration. And so I want us to read the Balfour Declaration. We'll go back and forth between this because I want to explain a couple of things to you. So in the year 1917, on the 2nd of November, from the office of the foreign minister's office, a letter was sent to one Lord Rothschild, who was a member of the House of Lords. And Arthur James Balfour, the first Earl of Balfour, was a British statesman and Conservative Party politician. See, now they got position in the government, and so they can now transfer lands. You see, so that you know, the land that they were about to transfer, Lord Balfour is about to transfer, was land that came from the Ottoman Empire, the Arabs. Land that the Khazars never owned or lived in. But there was a movement, a part of the Khazar kingdom, that referred to itself as Zionist and Zion and Jewish Zion. And they, unlike the other Khazars, opted for a different location to settle up. I remember the days when they wanted a piece of Uganda, but that would have been very funny. So this Lord Balfour, Arthur James Balfour, the first Earl of Balfour, was a British statesman and Conservative Party politician who was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom in 1902 to 1905. And he used that opportunity. In 1917, when he became the foreign secretary in the Lloyd George ministry or government, he issued the Balfour Declaration of 1917. I think it's 69 words or 67 words on behalf of the cabinet. And so Arthur James Balfour took land that belonged, that they seized from or during the Ottoman Empire, the fall of the Ottoman Empire. They became the administrators or the controllers or the colonial masters of the land you know today, as Palestine, Israel. So, dear Lord Rothschild, so Arthur Balfour, who is now in the seat of power, is transferring land that they gain from the Ottoman Empire, Arab lands. He's transferring that land to the Khazars, who are now this group of Zionists that decides that they don't want to go back to the original lands for reasons best known. They want a new location. Dear Lord Rothschild, I'm not going to go into explaining who the Rothschilds are, but just for this purpose, this one alone. Dear Lord Rothschild, who is he writing to? He's writing to Lionel Walter Rothschild, 2nd Baron Rothschild. Baron de Rothschild was a British banker politician in England. So this conservative is talking to this British banker who is also a politician, a zoologist, and a soldier, who was a member of the Rothschild family. As a Zionist leader, he was presented with the Balfour Declaration, which pledged British support for the takeover of the land in Palestine that you see the fight is over today. Weakened by the fall of this Arab empire, they Arabs could do nothing. And so Arthur Balfour writes, like Lord Rothschild, I have much pleasure in conveying to you, my brother, on behalf of His Majesty's government, the following declaration of sympathy with the Jewish Zionist aspirations, which has been submitted to and approved by the cabinet. His Majesty's government view with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, really the Jewish Zionists. It will be broadened to include all Jewish people, Sephardim, Mizrahi, Kashmiri, Ethiopian, all. But His Majesty government view with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. But this is the Khazar people from Khazaria on the Russian steppes, moving their location. By now, these people have already established themselves as a biblical people. As a people of the Bible, after they came in contact with the Bantu scrolls and saw the opportunity of changing the name of Akobe to Israel, they have already laid the foundation for the takeover of an identity, a new identity. And this is the spiritual identity that is going to be administered by their new priest, the Kohanim, in a new land. But there was a struggle. But His Majesty government view with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national homeland for the Jewish people and will use their best endeavors. Oh, you saw that on television just recently. Will use, and you saw it in America, will use their best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this objective. Now, this is not an original land, because if you need permission, if you need support, if you need a declaration, hence the birth of the United Nations. When the United Nations was formed, that was one of the first things they did. They recognized that which Britain says and will use their best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this objective. And hence you see the anger with the state of Israel, with the United Nations and its arms, different arms, saying, you can't do this. You can't do this what you're doing. But you were made to make me. You were made to give legitimacy to me. How dare you talk to me? I know this is Gomar's eldest son, Ashkenaz, speaking now. And they all have to submit to Big Brother. But we saw that. We know, we understand that. You're now getting to hear some of this. See, me, my big brother, well, I'm the big one now, you know? When he speaks, I remember when he called me and he said, sit down here, my brother, sit down, let me tell you a story you need to know. He says, I met great-grandmother. And he described great-grandmother and how she came to sell herself into slavery to meet those who were taken into slavery. I sit down and I listen to my big brother. If he called me and he said, I want to cut your hair, I can't run anywhere. He put me between his foot there and locked me down there, and he do what he got to do to my head. That's my brother. Gomar's eldest son is Ashkenaz. Dare the other little ones them be talking. They can't do that. That's Big Brother talking. But you didn't get to see all and understand all of that. Maybe you just didn't understand that, what you were seeing. And so, Alta Balfour is facilitating Lord Rothschild. He's saying, we will do everything. We will use our political authority to facilitate the achievement of this objective. And it continues up to today. It being clearly understood that, it must be clearly understood that nothing should be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of the existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine. You know what we say? Don't trouble them Arabs. Don't do nothing to trouble them. Walk along with them. Don't trouble the Christians that are there. Don't do nothing to upset them. You find a peace, put your head in that peace, and stay in that peace. But the problem is this: the wider understanding of the Zionist movement was set out on the use of the Bantu scrolls. A bigger land. And so they now have to write books and create movies to deceive the world as to the expanse of this land. So they say from the Nile River to the Euphrates River, which they had to create on that side, because the real Euphrates River is in West Africa. You can't go down that side. You can't go to West Africa. You can't put a group of Europeans in West Africa and tell them that a God give them that land. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen there. Because the people of the continent, they knew this God before. And he gave them that already. So they create a new Euphrates River. And then they now set out to say, from the river of Egypt, they're not calling it the Nile, because you know the Nile is in Africa. The river of Egypt, which later on they're now trying to create another little river there, to the Euphrates River, because there have to be two rivers, according to the story that was written for Abantu in the Bible. And they're now copying that story. And so they now have to find legitimacy and create what is not there to facilitate the story, because you can't change the content. The content is scattered in all the books. It's in Jesha, it's in Jubilees, it's all over. You can't get the change out of that unless you burn up everything. And so they had to create the rivers, Euphrates over that side, to facilitate that conversation. So they couldn't be satisfied with what the British were giving them now. And so you see in 2024, the expansion, because they need to take from the river of Egypt to the Euphrates River. They're going till by Iraq. That's why they want to fight with Iran, because Iran is in that space. They have to fight Iraq. Iraq is in that space. They got to fight Syria. Syria is in that space. They're going very far. And Turkey is watching them and saying, I know you, brother. Brothers, you're not coming here Brothers, you are not coming down this side. I'm going to protect this side. I'm just giving you a live commentary on how this thing is playing out. And we're watching them. So in 1948, the Balfour Declaration, and I'll go back to it and finish it, says that they will facilitate, but they must not cause any problem or prejudice with the civilians and or the civic society and the religious community in those areas. These were the Christians that were there already and the Arabs that were always there. So now they have to create a story about the Arabs, that the Arabs were never there, and that they took barren land. Much like the same conversation when the Europeans came on the south side. When Christianity was invading South Africa, you would hear that, oh, there was nobody on the land. We came and we found nobody, we take the land. It's the same conversation, the same people doing the same thing all over again. That there were nobody in South Africa, yet they were fighting there. There was nobody in the Levant, but yet they were fighting there with Arabs, with their spirits. Sure, they weren't animals. And this declaration acknowledges that there were people there before this was given as a gift to Lord Rothschild by the British government via Arthur James Balfour. They are recognized that there is a civil and a religious group or groupings that are there, and you must not prejudice them. They acknowledge that there were people there before. But because the story is based on the Bantu schools, you have got to change the identity of that location and now call it the Holy Land. And because it's Holy Land, that's you alone. You're alone. You're the holy people, the children of Israel. That's your land. And anybody else never exists. But Britain knew that there was a civil and religious groups in that land. Or you must not prejudice the rights of the political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. What are they talking about here? How would them going there prejudice the political status? Don't blackmail us when we give you this land. Don't tell everybody that we are your brothers and we give you the land. Don't blackmail us. Or the rights of the political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country, because they were in positions of political power, as you read here on this document. Don't prejudice us. Don't accuse us. Don't do nothing to blackmail us. So when we say, give us money, you can't say, I'm not giving, because you're afraid that they talk out and say, you know, you're part of this. And then we plan to play the Hadessa story, and you know, you've come to the kingdom for such a time as this. And then, so the next possible thing is that Jews in other countries must not be forced to go to that space, because now this is the new homeland. So you have Jews living in Israel, and there are Jews that will never go to Israel. Never will they go there. They understand. It should be, I should be grateful if you would bring this declaration by the British government to the knowledge of the Zionist Federation. So this was written exclusively to the Zionist Federation. That's why you'll see on YouTube, there's a group of Jews that are saying we're not Zionists and we don't agree with this, is because of that. So there was a Zionist movement. Hence, we go back to this. So there are Jews that are Zionists and there are Jews that are not Zionists. Then there's Christian Zionism, which form the bulk of the support for this fake biblical conversation of the Khazars becoming the children of Israel, the Hebrews, the Jews, the Bible, a Bible people. Now, I'm not saying that the Bible got Israel and Hebrew and Jew inside. Those were inserted. And you got to see how it was inserted. All right. So the Balfour Declaration was declared, and in 1948, May, the same day South Africa became an apartheid state. Apartheid 101, I call it. Apartheid 102 was created in the Levant. And you saw the dismantling of the Apartheid 101 state in 1994, and now you're seeing the dismantling of the Apartheid state 102 in 2024. 94 and 24. Now, the question is, how were they able to use the Bantu scrolls to bring about this? So you know that the conversation of 1948, which started in 1917, had to be regularized with this Bantu scroll that they picked up on, which they now call Dead Sea Scrolls, because they moved it from the African location to the Arab location. So the Bantu scrolls from Kumka become the Dead Sea Scroll of Qumran. And the story began to unfold as they doctored the Bantu scrolls to reflect the identity of a people called Israel, Hebrew, and Jew. They're changing the Bantu scroll to reflect this. But these are the Khazars doing this. And hence you have a document called the Strong's. You have the document called the Strong's Concordance. So co-opted with them together was the Jews and the children of Javan, the Greeks. The Greeks focus on the New Testament, while their brothers, the Hebrew Israelites, they focus on the Old Testament. And then they're going to marry the two. They're going to bring about prophecies like the virgin birth. They're going to bring about prophecies as though they were in a land and then they will be brought back to the same land. And because the Bible is a known land, the Bible took place in Africa, you have to move the Bible out of Africa. You have to get it out from there, because you can't tell that same story in that location. So they're telling the story of the Bible. In the Old Testament, they worked on changing the name of the child of promise, Jacob. So in English, they call him Jacob, and in Hebrew, they call him Yaakov. And so they began to change this identity. And so they remove him completely. Jacob is removed from the Bible. And he's replaced with Israel. That's how Israel got into the Bible. You remember I tell you the story about you finding a letter that I address and giving all that I have to my son or my daughter or so on, and then you found the letter and you remove their name from it and insert your name, and then you begin to claim all this thing that I'm promising my child. You claiming it and say you are the child. That's what you did. So now you're understanding what happened. So now they're going to doctor the Old Testament. And so they find not Esau, the firstborn. That's going to look too obvious, they said. Let's say that Esau is the firstborn, but let's get rid of the name of the real child of promise that they call in English Jacob. And so when they created the J in the English, they put it before the word Jacobi. So you get Jacob. Some people might say Jacobi, how can it be? But you see, the word is a Bantu word that means he that opened the womb, the firstborn. And throughout the scriptures, the reference is made to Jacobi as the firstborn. They have a problem. This is Gomar's firstborn trying to claim the position of Issachar's firstborn, Jacobi. And so they had to go in the book and make Esau the firstborn, so you don't get to, you're not going to pay too much attention. If Esau is the firstborn, Kobe is a supplanter, he's a thief, you're not going to want to identify with him. But they want to be identified with that child. So they made him a thief and a supplanter, so you will reject him, and then they take him as their father. But no, his name is now Israel. And they said an angel came to do it. Must have been a fallen angel. Change the name of Kobe to Israel. And from thence, they are able to gradually perpetuate this myth on the earth. So 1948 is not a beginning. It's the conclusion of a process that started a long time ago by subtlety, by the Khazars. We are the end of that process. And we are also the end and the dismantling of that process by divine action. We couldn't do this. No son of a Kobe could single-handedly do this. This is Sonini's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. So yes, so the Zionist, Zion Jewish Balfour Declaration of 1917 took its effect in 1948. But by then, they have already copied over the biblical locations in Sub-Saharan Africa that I've shown you. They've already now copied over them. Kitchener and Condor, two Jewish scholars. One was a cartographer, and the other one was a geologist, studying at Greenwich, where they met. And they went over to Palestine to lay down the foundation in the 1700s. It was 1972, somewhere there. They went there to lay the foundation for these biblical locations, to scatter them in that space. So when they create the new conversation in 1948, lo and behold, you'll be hearing places named Beersheba and Jordan and Hebron and all of these things. But all of them places come from Sub-Saharan. All of those places is in Sub-Saharan. They took them over there to create this story of the Israel in a different location, because that's not the land of Kobe. Kobe's land is Sub-Saharan. But he don't exist anymore. He's replaced by Israel. And then you get to see Israel in the Levant. And so Israel began to call the ancient place of the old in the Old Testament Canaan. They began to call the land that they're in Canaan. But the question is, where are the Canaanites? Where are the Hittites? Where are the Amorites? They're still in southern Africa. They're still up south. They haven't left. They did not go into captivity. When we went into captivity, they still occupy the land. The Philistines are still there. And so they create these parallels. So when I just said Philistine, you're thinking Palestine. No, I'm not saying Philistine. I said Philistine, not Palestine. Palestinians are Arabs. And they acquire those names to facilitate the change. And this is the problem. They all work together under the guidance of Rome to create this story in the Levant. Oh, they're talking about the 12 stations of the cross. They've come to the New Testament. The places are established now. So you got to Jerusalem in that location. I know Jerusalem there. That's not the city of Sunini Nanini. Jerusalem is still up south. Still up south. Never left. And it's on your Google Maps. No, I know it's a lot to put into one night. So let's narrow down here. The Khazars, a European group, is the same group that metamorphosized to Israelites, Israeli, Hebrew, and Jew. It's the same, became Jewish, same thing. Zionist, same thing. the same that benefited from the Balfour Declaration, which is not a biblical conversation and prophecy, is British, not biblical. In 1948, they were given that land. You cannot find a single prophecy in the Bible, in the Bantu scrolls, where this was supposed to happen. Never. You can never find that. You know, generations, ancient times, going forward or backward, you can never find that prophecy. No book could record that in the Bible. None. Because it just is not true. And so that lie is being dismantled right now before our eyes. But the one that is still not fully understood is the one we'll open up tomorrow night. That this same Khazar kingdom, a European group, the Israelites, the Hebrew Israelites, the Jew, he found himself manipulating the Old Testament, created the New Testament, and declared himself down to the present time as that chosen people in 1948. But we want to go back and see like how they were able to. They were the Sanhedrin. You know the Sanhedrin? The high priest, Caiaphas, which is Josephus, the Jewish historian. He was the Jewish high priest there. And he was writing the story under different names. When he's ready, he writes as Luke, Lucas, Lucius. When he's ready, he writes as Mark. When he gets excited, he writes as Matthew. So that Jewish historian became the Roman historian, Flavius Josephus. And then you get the stories of the Antiquity of the Jews by Flavius Josephus. It's all part of the preparation for 1948. So we're going to look at the Sanhedrin in the New Testament, and we're going to look at the relationship with the Sanhedrin and the relationship with the children of Israel in the Old Testament, because they remove a Kobe and they inserted themselves. The problem with this part of the history, it is an academic process or exercise. They don't have to be on the ground to do this. They did this in an abstract way, a theoretical way, a hypothetical way. They took the book and they inserted and removed, and backdated. Have you ever wondered why a people that just arrived in 1948 in Palestine, in 1948, has a year that dates over 5,000 years? I shall show you how that happened. I'll say it again. A people that arrived in 1948 in this land that they claim was given to them long time from Bible times, they have a history of a year of 57 something, 5,000 years of history in a space that they only occupied in 1948. You have to fabricate the best before. So the biblical part of it, that's why I put years in question mark, the biblical part of it, they fabricated those years and added to 2024 to date to get the new year. I'll show you how it is done. I put a calendar over there, and I'm hoping that you can see the calendar. I'm not sure if you can. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to reshare the screen, which will allow you to see the calendar. Don't worry, coming down. I'm going to reshare the screen, and I want you to see the calendar. So that's the one I want you to see. I'm sorry, the calculator. And I'm hoping that you can see it. Yeah. So let's Let me just move the calculator a little way on that side. So I'm up so I can get all the numbers. All right, let's clear this. So 1948 was the year they went into the land. In that land. Prior to that, where they were? In the Caspian Sea. But they have to transfer their history here. They were forever in the Caspian Sea, Black Sea area. But they have to bring that time into this time, into this location, this new location. So they took the history of our people, adding it to this, plus 3760. I'll explain that. 37 as plus. Let me just put this calculator up a little. Plus 3760. See the year 3760. That's a part of the Bantu history that they picked up, right? 3760 years and added to 1948. So they would have started off in the land of Israel, in the Levant. The year of the first celebration, they would have been 5708. 5708. Now this year that they just finished, let me clear that again and put back 3760, which is the Bantu years, when they began to assert themselves as the children of the book. You get the picture? 3760 is when they start asserting themselves, the year they took and digitally, if you want to put it that way. They don't need the history. They write it down on a paper. Like how you create the fiat money out of thin air. They write the 3760 and then they add the year that the Gregorians put together. Today is now 2024. So let me just back off that. 3760 plus 2024. And that will be 5784. It must be the year of the Jews. It has to be. Because they brought the history from Caesarea and put it on to the present. And so that they can look as though they're an ancient people in that new land. They were not there 5,784 years. They were not there. They only got there in 1948. And mathematically, they put on 3760 onto it. Let me see if we're correct anyhow. Let's see if we go. Let me see if I can escape here and bring up. Let's see if I can bring up. Jewish New Year in 2024. That's when they celebrated it. What's the year? Is that it? This year is going to be 5785. Right now it's 5784. That's the Jewish New Year in the year 2024. They celebrated that in September, where the Bantu have their New Year, because they know that we are the First Nation. And they're pinning themselves, they're tagging us to create the fake history about them. And so you see, the 3760 of our years, because we're ancient to them, they use it and add it to the time when they get into the space. So now 2024, they're only there 2024, 70 years, 75 years ago, I think. But now you see them looking with 5784, means 5,784 years of existence. Where did they live 5,784 years? Khazaria. They never lived in that space in the Levant for that time. But they're celebrating those years. And they're telling you that they've been there all the time. Because they lie. Because they're telling lies. They're telling lies. And they're facilitated in telling the lies. This year, they said this new year 2025, they're going to come back down there again. But they're coming in October. September, October is spring. It's spring in the Holy Land, South Africa, Southern Africa, Sub Saharan. Africa is a holy land. The drive to label Abantu as Israelites. Who are the Jews? Part 2. I want to thank everyone tonight once more for coming in the chat room. May the Most High Almighty Sunini Nanini Samandla, the mighty one of Abraham, the mighty one of Issachar, and the mighty one of Jacobi, continue to watch over Abantu as we continue to experience his glorious redemption. Thank you and good night. Education TV, waking up the Bantus from sea to sea. Okay, this is Black Re-Education TV, where we're stepping back from the brink towards a more meaningful future. What our theme verse being, thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. So if your ancestors were scattered via the transatlantic slave trade or the Mohammedan Arabic Islamic slave trade, then you are the children of Almighty Sunini Nanini Samandla, the mighty one of Abraham, Issachar, and Jacobi. Oh yes, Black history, the study of the Bible is Black history. And so you're welcome tonight. Welcome to the show. Welcome. Share the link to everyone. And let somebody know tonight that you are connected to the show. We give him all the praise. We give him all the glory. We give him all the honor because he is due all the praise and all the honor. Oh yes, share the link and text a friend. And after the show, make sure you follow us on all the channels. It is on Telegram Live, it is YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and the recording is uploaded on Bantu. You are welcome tonight to the show. All praises to Almighty Sunini Nanini Samanda. We give him all the praise and all the glory. Waking up the Bantus from sea to sea. Education TV. Waking up the Bantus from sea to sea. Education TV.